So, hi guys. As the video says, today I would like to do a response to Tiffany Banner's video. As a mum, as a sister, when I hear her story, it's heartbreaking for me because it's sad that she's had those types of experiences. And that she's had to go through such a traumatic time here in Tanzania. However, I wanted to bring my own perspective as somebody who is also first generation African. My parents migrated from Nigeria to the UK. For a long time, we were legal immigrants. And as somebody who has traveled since the age of 21 as well, traveled around, I wanted to bring my perspective into some of the things that Tiffany had talked about. And maybe even some warnings for people looking to come here, looking to relocate, whether it's to West Africa or East Africa. Some things that you should probably be aware of, and just to put you on notice. Okay, so she talked about a lot of things. I'm so sorry, Tiffany, that you had to go through something like that with the Bolt driver. I take Bolt almost every day. Actually, my husband's always saying, you can sit down somewhere sometimes. I'm always taking a Bolt. Like if my husband's not available to drive, I just catch a Bolt. Prince and I are always in the Bolt. And I've never had, an experience like that. So I feel really, really sad for her, and it's unfortunate that she had to go through that. But I just wanted to say, for those who do take Bolt, and for anybody who doesn't know what Bolt is, it's basically like an Uber. It's a cheaper version of Uber here that's used here in Tanzania. So I thought, well, for those who are taking Bolt, those who are looking to come and maybe using it in the future, that there are certain best practices that I stand by when I'm using a Bolt. And I thought, you know what, let me share those because, one of the things that from Tiffany's story, it sounded like, and I could be wrong, but it sounded like she was sitting in front. So she was in front of the, sitting right next to the driver, because she said he was holding the seatbelt down and preventing her from taking her seatbelt off. So I'm assuming, I could be wrong, but I'm assuming that she's sitting in front. One of the things that you do get an alert for in Bolt is you're told not to sit in front for safety reasons. And I guess that might be a situation like that, an unfortunate situation like that might be why. So I never sit in front. I only sit in front if there's a few of us in the car. So if it's me, my dada, Prince, somebody else, so then, we spread out a little bit and there's quite a few of us. But if it's just me and Prince, no, I'm not sitting in front. And I wouldn't encourage anybody to. When I'm sitting at the back, I can watch, I can keep an eye on the driver. The other thing, the other best practice, that brings me to my next point. The other thing I do is I watch my journey. So I watch where he's going. On the app, it shows you exactly where the route is and where they should be going. And if at any point they turn off or they do another turn somewhere, like I pull them up on it and I want to know like why they're going where they are. Now, of course, like if you have a bad driver like the one that Tiffany had, he might just carry on anyway. But at least I think it's good practice to at least watch your journey. The other thing that I do is I send my journey. So just like in Uber, you can send your journey. So I can send it to my husband or my brother, but at least somebody knows, and it doesn't take too much to do that. It's a bit of an inconvenience, and but I just feel like it's best practice, especially when you're in a foreign country. You don't understand the language completely. You don't know everywhere. You don't know your way around everywhere. So for me, I feel like those are some of the things that I do to help keep myself safe when I'm driving and using Bolt. The other thing that I do, and a lot of my friends that I know here do, is that if we find a few Bolt drivers, if we come across a Bolt driver who is reliable, who we have, good conversation with, and sounds trustworthy and takes us, safely from one place to the other, then we take their numbers. So obviously that's not recommended, but I'm sure that's not recommended by Bolt, but it is something that I know that a lot of diasporans do. I personally do it as well. And so I have a few drivers who I know that I can call on. And then so I only then resort to the Bolt if none of them are available. So, yeah, so that's one of the things I wanted to respond to regarding the Bolt. The other thing is touching. I mean, she talked a lot about being uncomfortable, being sexualized, and men looking at her and touching her, and I don't know if a lot of that might be down to her age, but for me, and I would say that most of the things that she said in the video, in my personal opinion, happens all over the world, like everywhere, even in West Africa where Tiffany's gone to. Like, it happens everywhere, and that's not taking away from her experience. It's just, I feel like experience and age will teach you that, and from my experience, it has happened to me everywhere. It has happened to me in the US. When I was traveling from the UK, I used to frequent the US. So I've got catcalled all over the US, in different states, in West Africa. Like, I've been touched. They'll touch you, they'll touch your bum. People would do, men do inappropriate things, and that's been everywhere. It's been in the UK, in Asia, like, it's happened everywhere. And so I just want, and I hope that Tiffany also knows that, whilst it was terrible that it happened to her, period, that's not unique to Tanzania, and I hope that people know that. And yes, it is true. It is true that men look at you here, and they might make advances at you here. But again, from my experience, I've had that everywhere. I've had that a lot in West Africa, personally. I've had that a lot in certain parts of the UK, in Asia, in America. I've had that happen everywhere. And so, I sometimes, and so as I was saying, I don't know if it's maybe because, she's still young, that maybe she hasn't experienced those things, and that may have been her first major encounter with catcalling. But from my experience, it can happen anywhere, and it does happen everywhere. And to tie in with that, she was talking a lot about, sorry, I'm looking over because I made some notes just to make sure that I cover some of the points, some of the things that I was thinking about when I was watching her video. She talked a little bit about feeling as though, she talked about an incident on the bus, or a few incidences on the bus, where, people were telling her to shh, or her friend that had caught the bus. They were telling her friend, her friend thought that the conductor and everybody in the bus was laughing at her because, you know, she was speaking English, and that Tiffany herself had similar experiences of somebody telling her to shh, even though she wasn't talking very loud, and she felt uncomfortable. She felt like it was because she was speaking a different language. And my response to that is, ignorance is rampant everywhere. Like, again, like, I feel like most of the experiences that Tiffany talks about, that she experienced here in Tanzania, most of it happens everywhere in the world. Everywhere in the world. And let's not forget, like, you're in a third world country. You're in a third world country. You're amongst locals who aren't as exposed as you are. So ignorance, you're very, very likely to come across ignorant people who haven't seen somebody like you. And so for me, like, I know from experience, like, for example, in the UK, when I was young, when my brother and I used to experience that a lot, you know, the fact that you were just the fact that you were an African was an insult back in the days. In the UK, the fact that you were African, you were insulted. You were laughed at and ridiculed, and they would laugh at the way an African was talking, or, you know, your mannerism as an African, like. And I've seen it even and I know that it also happens in certain parts of the UK. In also happens in certain parts of America. Like, they can sometimes tell, like, you're not from there. So if you go to certain parts of New York, you know, they can tell from the way that you dress, and, you know, the way that you're behaving, that you're foreign, and sometimes that can attract the wrong type of attention and ignorant people. And so, you know, that can happen everywhere. And I hope that everybody who watches her video understands that. I hope that, you know, I have personally not experienced that here. I found that even when I'm speaking English and I'm struggling to communicate in Swahili, you know, they tend to just laugh it off and say, oh, you don't speak Swahili, you know? And so, and again, like, of course, Tiffany experienced what Tiffany experienced. And so I'm not saying that it did not happen. I'm just saying that it's not something that has happened to me. I know quite a few diasporans, you know, the fact that they speak English to a local, or when trying to communicate, I have not seen that be a problem, be an issue for locals. So maybe, you know, on that occasion, she came across somebody who was ignorant, you know, that we can find anywhere in the world. And I just want to make that clear, like, that it doesn't matter where you are, you're going to come across that. And even if you know, as she's gone to West Africa, you're going to come across that in West Africa too. I remember when I was in Nigeria on one occasion, you know, and I was speaking English. And now, bear in mind, in Nigeria, most people speak English. They have a different dialect to me. And so when I'm speaking English, sometimes they have to listen really, really carefully to grasp what I'm saying. I remember one occasion I was speaking English, and you know, a complete stranger was like, what kind of English are you speaking? You know, kind of insulting me, saying that I'm not speaking English properly. And I just laughed it off, like, what are you talking about? Like, I learned English from England. I think I'm speaking good English. And so sometimes those things you kind of have to take with a pinch of salt, because ignorance is rampant everywhere. Ignorance is everywhere, unfortunately. And so east, west, north, south, wherever you go in Africa, I'm sure that somebody has experienced the same thing, and that's not unique to Tanzania. It's not. Okay, let's talk about, she talked about covering up this is a conservative, yes, this is a conservative country. And yes, you know, we should be respectful of their culture. I personally believe it's because there's a heavy Muslim community. I believe it's 50-50. And so, you know, that I believe that ties into it a lot. But again, covering up, I remember when I was in my early 20s, going back to Nigeria, it was the same thing. You know, I was used to dressing a certain way, and, you know, my mum and my family would tell me, you know, there are certain things that you can't just walk out of here wearing, because they would look at you as a streetwalker, and that's just how it is. Whether it's right or wrong, it's different to how things are in the West. You know, people wear whatever they want. They can walk out with a bathing suit, and it's normal in certain parts of the West. But it isn't normal here. It's not normal in Tanzania. And I found conservative dressing is expected in Nigeria too, some parts of West Africa too, some parts of South Africa, or Southern Africa rather, not specifically South Africa. Some parts of North Africa that I've been to, also conservative dressing was seen as a sign of respect, and would sometimes avoid you getting those catcalls, and those unwanted attention. I completely understand how she feels, because I remember when I was younger, and, you know, I made sure to avoid, I did not like that type of attention. So I made sure to be conscious of how I was dressing in certain parts of West Africa when I was there. And then she also talked about, even sometimes when she was fully covered, you know, men would still be sexualizing her. Yes, that's true. That happens here. That happens in West Africa also, when you're fully covered. That happens in the UK sometimes. And again, I don't feel like that's unique to Tanzania. In my opinion and in my experience, that is not unique to Tanzania. So even when you're fully dressed, you know, basically, when you're fully dressed, you're still being looked at. Like, if you are a beautiful woman, if you're attractive, if you look different, that tends to warrant, you know, attention from people who are not used to seeing that. So yes, what else? Yeah, I'd put here, I've experienced it in Jamaica, Honduras. You know, the catcalling, just going back to the catcalling and the touching and stuff, like, it happens everywhere. Sorry, I was just looking at my notes. If you see me looking over to the corner, that's why I'm looking at my notes. And the other thing I want to say is that I remember she was talking about feeling like she was losing her identity, like losing herself, you know, by trying to immerse herself in the Tanzanian culture. And what I would like to say to that, and for anybody else coming here, and because I noticed that that's a trend here, like lots of people talk about just almost becoming Tanzanian, and immersing yourself in the culture and being like a Tanzanian. And that's, I don't know, it's very trendy, or I don't really know, but I do know it's something that people talk about a lot, mainly, and I'm not generalizing, but mainly the African Americans that I've come across. You know, they talk about, you know, coming here and like taking on the culture. For me personally, I do not advise that. I don't. Like, I was raised in the UK, but I was raised in the UK as a Nigerian. And I knew very well I was Nigerian. Like, my family made sure to let me know. It was very, very clear to us that we were African children. So it didn't matter that we were in the UK. I'm still African, you know. And so I still keep my culture. I still keep the foods that I eat. And whilst, yeah, I learn English. I mean, I knew English already, but I'm saying, you know, I learn the English culture. I eat British food, but I also never forget where I'm from and what my culture eats and what my culture's about. I moved to the US, same thing. I'm still African. I'm still Nigerian. And so when I'm there, I might eat American food, but I still eat my own cultural food. I still seek my own cultural food. I still seek my own cultural community. I still seek Nigerians to be around, to be connected to, because that's still my culture. And I feel the same about Tanzania. Yes, I'm in Tanzania, and yes, it's important to learn Swahili, learn about the locals. Of course, when I used to travel a lot, that's what it's about, and that's what I want my son to do, like travel and be exposed to other cultures. That doesn't mean you take on, and that's my opinion. Like, there are some people here who believe you should come here and be a Tanzanian. That's good for you, but personally, I don't advise that. I advise keeping true to who you are, like be who you are. And again, I think, maybe because she's young, and there's nothing wrong with that. She's still learning, she's still growing. And I remember when I was in my teens, like still that's something that you learn as you grow up, as you're exposed to more life living. You learn to figure out how to be exposed to other cultures, be exposed to other opinions, but still maintain who you are, still maintain how you feel about things. And I believe that comes with age and exposure. But yes, with regards to that, I do not agree with, I don't know if that was Tiffany's intentions when she came here. I know that, she tried very hard to learn the culture. But I think that maybe, it was probably a bit too much for her. Now, I know that there are lots of people, again, mainly African Americans that I have met, not generalizing, who have come here in search of their ancestors, or because they've been led by their ancestors, or because they're trying to connect to other Black Africans or Africa. That's not why I'm here. That's not why we came. We came because we see that the West politically and economically is changing drastically. And so those were our reasons. And so we were looking for somewhere, that wouldn't necessarily be implementing those political and economic changes so quickly, so we could have time, to do what we needed to do to put ourselves in a position that we wanted to be. I mean, that sounds very general, but yeah, I don't want to talk too much about politics on this channel. That's not my intention. So as I was saying, there are people here who have come, in search of their ancestors. There are lots of people who have this idea of Africa being one, and Africa being, I don't know, drums playing, and they just have this utopia, euphoric view of what Africa is, and I just don't feel like that's the reality. The first thing is, I do not believe that Africans are one people. I just don't. Like, when I went to Morocco, Moroccans were very different. They're still classed as Africans. They're still Africans. They were very different to Tanzanians. I'm Nigerian. My culture is very different to Tanzanians. I talked a lot to my dad about, oh, is this how you do things here? Because in Nigeria, as a Nigerian, and so I get to understand that actually, and again, I'm guilty, because I remember I came here and it was wrong. I came here like, oh, yes. Oh, Africa. I expect certain things. I expected certain West African food to be here. Like, and that was wrong. And so just for people to come here and understand that this is not just one. There are different people with different cultures and different ways of life, and you just need to know that when you come here, you know. I know that there are some people here on like spiritual journeys and like go for wherever your ancestors are calling you, wherever you're being called to, you know, go there, but make sure it is truly the ancestors calling you. Because if you say the ancestors are calling you somewhere, then I believe that they're calling you there for a reason. And if it gets hard, you should probably stick it out. If you truly believe that it was the ancestors calling you to one place, you know, or one part of Africa. But those are just my thoughts. And again, she talked about, you know, deciding to move to Ghana, and the fact that it was because her mum had a friend there who could make her transition a lot easier. And I personally think that that's a great idea, and I think that that's what most people should seek to do. Like, if you're going somewhere, we didn't know anybody, but like, I have my husband and my son, and I believe I don't care where I go. I believe that we can make friends and we can engage with others. And so for me, it's not a big issue. However, I did reach out to my friend who is Tanzanian, but not currently living here, still in the UK. And so I spoke to him. I asked him lots of questions about how the culture is, the areas, and all those things, you know. So I used my resources as well, in that aspect. And of course, if he was here, I would have connected with him to help make my transition a lot easier. And so that's one thing I want to say. Like, if you have a contact, wherever you're going in Africa, whether it's Tanzania or Uganda, wherever you're going, if you have a contact, I believe that that's probably the best start. That's probably the best approach to this. Like, start there. It's going to make things a lot easier. They're on the ground. They have experience on the ground that can help you, that can save you a lot of money, a lot of hassle, a lot of headache. And so I think that that's a good idea. And I personally feel like that's something that people looking to come here, looking to live, relocate to Africa should consider doing. If you can, you know, if it's possible, then definitely seek out those connections within your network. Use those resources that you have to help make your transition a lot easier. The final point that I want to make was with regards to community. You know, she talked a little bit about seeking a healthy community here, and it made me a little bit sad for her that she hadn't been able to find that here. But also a little bit confused, because that's absolutely not my experience. There are so many. I have come across so many diasporans and so many elders here, both local and people from the diaspora. And we have managed to find our people, and that requires, you know, engaging a little bit of engagement with people, and discernment, and then figuring out if those people are the types of people that you want to be around, that are your types of people, you know. So it's unfortunate that she was unable to find a healthy community here. Again, I would say to anybody who is coming here, thinking about coming here and wondering if they're going to be able to find it, I believe that if that's something you're seeking and you work on it, you actively work on it, you should be able to find it. Personally, we weren't even seeking that, but we've found it. You know, I found a community of mums. I'm part of a local community of mums, so they're all Tanzanian mums, and then I'm part of a community of mums who were all diasporans and who have moved here. So, you know, if you're seeking community, it is possible, but it might require a little bit of work if that's something you're seeking. Like, I just wanted to make that clear. The final thing that I want to talk about, which I don't believe Tiffany actually mentioned, but it's something that's been on my heart, and it's regarding immigration. Now, I know that there are lots of diasporans who are coming here and who are getting quite angry and quite frustrated by the immigration system here in Tanzania. But I want you to know that that's normal. It's normal everywhere you go. And from my experience, this is easy. My parents had it terribly hard, you know, relocating from Nigeria. Imagine how hard that is, trying to get from a third world country to the West. Like, they had a very, very difficult time. And naturally, as their kids, like, we experienced some of those hardships, you know. And so people need to know, like, immigration is not an easy thing anywhere you go. It doesn't matter where you're from, unless you've got lots of money and you can just invest in a country and be given residency or citizenship. Like, immigration is not going to be easy. And again, my experience, even in the US, as a Brit with a British passport, when I go in the US, I have to come out every 3 months. I can't just stay there, and you know, until when I got my residency, then I was fine. But prior to that, for years, I would go in and I'll have to be out every 3 months. And if I wasn't, I'd be penalized. I never did that though, because I didn't want to be penalized for that, because then they can stop you from coming back to the country. UK has similar rules. Well, they'll stop you if you overstay. They will stop you from coming to the country for the next 10 years. That's it. And you have there's no recourse. So, you know, I know that there are lots of people here who are frustrated by immigration, but I need you to understand that that's normal and that's part of the process. And it's something that you probably need to toughen up and accept, because that's just the way it is. It's not unique to Tanzania. It really isn't. It's not unique to Tanzania. What you're experiencing here, at least Americans, because I don't as a Brit, the Americans, you guys get a whole year where your visa's valid for a whole year. You just have to go in and out. Me, I had to, I know that they've changed it now, but before 2008, 2009, I had to get a new visa every time I went in. So I know that they've changed it now. I believe now they give you 2 years, but you have to come out every 3 months. So it happens in the US, and it's also terribly, as somebody who's been through it in the UK, in the US, it's terribly expensive. And seriously, nothing compared. What the Tanzanians are requiring from you is nothing compared to what I had to pay in the US and what my parents had to pay in the UK. So, you know, that's just helping people put things in perspective, and that might help you be able to manage things a little bit better, because seriously, it's normal. I don't want to say you need to get over it. I just need people to know that it's immigration issues are normal, and those requirements are quite common. It's not unique to Tanzania, you know. And so, yeah, I just wanted to come on. I wanted to add my little 2 cents to this discussion. Everybody's talking about, you know, her video at the moment, all the diasporans here in Tanzania, you know, and I wanted to share my opinion, my views, and bring my perspective, and you know, encourage people and just let people know that, you know, Tanzania is still here. It's still a great place to visit, to possibly relocate to, but you know, it's not perfect, just like anywhere. And the same things that you experience in your country, don't feel like you might not experience it here in Africa, because people are people everywhere, you know. It's just the way it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed my little rambling tonight. Prince is sleeping now, so I usually use this time to work on my business, plan his homeschool lessons for the next day, recap what he's done today, go over what he's done. And so I thought I would quickly hop on and make this video. If you enjoyed it, please help us subscribe, like, and drop me a comment as well. Like, I'd love to hear what other people's thoughts are on her video, other people's thoughts are on, and perspective, and some of the issues that I've raised. I'd love to hear from you guys. Prince and I are trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of the year, by December. So please help us by subscribing. We hope to bring you more videos about what it's like being here, more, how things are for us and our personal experiences. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you all. Thank you to our new subscribers. We really, really appreciate it. Prince and I, both Prince and I, just to be clear, read the comments, and Prince loves it, and sometimes he even replies himself. So keep the comments coming, and thank you, and have a great night, guys.